Always super, super valuable. So I'm gonna,
Well, we like to think it is, but I don't know how
I can,
truly valuable it is.
I can get it.
We'll
I can
see.
get some cheering, some clapping. I pulled that
Oh,
stop
there
out
you
with.
go.
All right, now I got to stop it. How do I stop it? All right, Zack Takos. Welcome to the SIGEP Success Series. For all you to know, success does not mean a dollar amount. It means how you value your time in life and absorbing the moments that count. Be it family, be it work, be it friends, be it whatever you're doing, taking the success in every moment. That's what counts. And that's kind of where that title comes from. And so I've got one of the founding fathers, Zack Takos. We're all going to get to know him. Some of you know him very well, and some of you haven't talked to him in way too long. See, the advantage I have is I call this guy. He's on my speed dial whenever I have business questions. I'm like, help me, because I question everything I do, and you always steer me in a proper, good direction. So, as a little hint,
Well, thank you.
he is a business. He does business law, right? That's kind of that is your thing, is business law. Corporate law? Is there a difference between corporate law and business law, or is it one and the same?
Uh, it's really the same. I think sometimes people think that corporate sounds a little fancier, but it's all the same.
Okay. So Zack is currently, well, I'm going to turn the time over to him, give us a little background of where you're at, family, a little bit of life, catch us up to the last 10 years briefly. We'll dive more into the career side later, but just kind of in general, where you at, what you doing?
Yeah, yeah. So again, thanks for having me, Oz. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's good to talk in this setting. As I think I told you, I've been catching up on past episodes
Mhm.
of the SIGEP Success Series, and it's just awesome. I love. It's been really cool for me to see some of the brothers that I know. But it's also been cool to see some that I don't know, and to hear their stories as well. So it's been really cool. You are certainly the right man for the job, putting us together. You, I think, keep in touch with all of us much better than we keep in touch with each other. So I appreciate that. Um, so yes, with that, thank yous out of the way, and yeah,
Way.
I can't wait to see the episode where we flip the script and interview you. Um, Looking forward to that. But yeah, with respect to your questions, so I live in beautiful, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. We've lived here for, man, it's been 14 plus years. Moved here right after graduating law school. I graduated law school in 2008 from George Mason University. I have a beautiful, wonderful, supportive wife of 16 plus years now. Um, and then I have a 14-year-old son who just started high school this year, um, which is just a crazy experience. He's already way smarter than his dad, and he'll do many wonderful. He's like my meal ticket out of.
If the
He's
law
gonna
thing doesn't
he's gonna
work
pay
out.
all the bills. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's awesome. And then I have a 12-year-old daughter who is, I mean, has got her dad wrapped around her little finger like no other. I tell the story. I say I take my boys to the grocery store, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, can we get this? Can we get this?" No, no, no. My daughter goes to the grocery store with me, and she gets like everything that she wants. I
Walking
don't
out with
know.
bags
I
on
have
both sides.
yeah, yeah. I have no shame in saying that she is. She's certainly my little princess. But so she's 12, so she's in junior high, and then I have a 9-year-old son who is like our family's sporty spice. He's uh, he's just super good athlete. He's doing soccer right now. That's like his big thing, and that's been super fun for our family. My wife and I were just talking the other day. We're like, there's no better Saturday for us than like a doubleheader soccer game with him, and watching that, and it's been a lot of fun. And then we have a 4-year-old boy. He's our little caboose, and that kid is just a tornado that keeps us busy. People say that like kids keep you young. I feel like he makes me feel old.
They will wear you down.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, so that's us. That's us.
Names of your kids, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Landon is my oldest, and then
Okay.
Ainsley is my daughter. Jameson is our number three, and then Oliver is number four.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
I guess I kind of forgot about the caboose. I think the last
yeah,
time we actually like saw each other, he wouldn't have been born then, because yeah, it was a while back when I came down there. So
yeah, yeah. It's been a while back. Yeah, he was our, and yeah, yeah. It's funny. He wasn't. I mean, he was planned, but I think after three, we were like, oh man, having another kid is rough. So my wife and I, we could never get on the same page as to whether we wanted a fourth one or not, and then we decided we did, and fortunately he came along, and like I said, man, having kids is a young person's game. I've decided.
amen,
So yeah,
amen. I so agree. Yeah, mine are a little more wrapped together, but I'm 42 and feel 50 right now with because of my 6-year-old. My 6-year-old just kind of no naps, up early, late nights, just won't stop. Um,
yeah,
well, very cool, very cool. Okay, so what I kind of the generic format I love to get to know because you, man, I've known you and I connect with you since SIGUP, but I'm looking back and I'm thinking about some of the things. I don't know where you're from, like, and how you ended up at Utah State. So where are you originally from?
yeah. So I'm originally from Bountiful, Utah,
Okay, Bountiful
and grew up
High,
in Bountiful. I was Woods Cross High.
Woods
Woods
Cross.
Cross
Okay,
High School. Go Wildcats. Yeah, Woods Cross High School, and how I ended up at Utah State is actually interesting. So I grew up. My whole upbringing was I was going to BYU, and that was I loved BYU football. Uh, Ty Detmer won the Heisman Trophy on my birthday, and I always thought that that was like a personal gift to me. Yeah, so I love. I was all about BYU. I thought that's where I was going to go. And then when I graduated from high school, I had some friends. I had a good friend whose parents owned a house in Logan, and he had all his siblings went to Utah State, so he was going to Utah State. And so he asked me, "Hey, do you want to come up to Utah State for a quarter?" I mean, talk about being old, Oz. I started Utah State when it was on the quarter system. And so I decided I wanted to leave on an LDS mission close to my birthday. So I decided, hey, I'll go to Utah State for a quarter, and then I'll come home and I'll go to BYU and do the BYU thing. And I remember vividly, I was actually driving home. So I started my first quarter at Utah State, and I was driving home to my parents' house while Utah State and BYU were playing football. It was the football game, and I'm driving home, and Utah State threw an interception, and I slammed my hand on the steering wheel, and I was like, oh, like I was so upset that Utah State had thrown an interception,
converted.
and I almost crashed my car because I was like, what is
Wow.
happening? Oh my gosh, like I'm actually rooting for the Aggies. This was so weird for me. Um and that was like the point in time where I realized I was becoming an Aggie even more than a Cougar. And so I served my LDS mission to Mexico, came home, and kind of looked around, looked at options. I explored my options at BYU and everything, and just Utah State just felt right. I loved my time, and so I went back to Logan, and the rest is history. And I'm so grateful that I stuck with Utah State.
Absolutely. Um, okay, brief memory about you. I don't think I think I met you before SIGEP. My memory of you, and correct me if my timing is wrong on this, but I remember breaking plates on the sidewalk for your campaign. And I can't remember like what you ran for, but that was part of your shtick because I was helping Mike Brockbrader because I was his roommate and he's a Pike and he just pulled me in. He's like, hey, help support me because I'm running for office. And I remember sitting freezing outside, and there you are with a big sheet. You're like, come here, throw brake plates and Zack Takos. And so I think I knew you before SIGEP because of that. That was before, if I remember correctly, 2002 or something like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So yes. That's funny you should bring that up. So I ran for executive vice president,
Okay.
and I lost to Ariel Thrapp.
Oh, that's okay.
Who we later became friends through some other avenues, but that was really interesting. But what's funny is, so my campaign was your big fat Greek executive vice president.
Because for those that don't know, last name Takos, this kid is just straight Mediterranean, right off the boat, Greek, right?
Exactly.
Bah!
Exactly. Yeah. Opa. Yeah. That's exactly right. And what's so funny about how it all ended up is during my campaign, I went to the various sororities and fraternities and I explained to them, hey, I'm not Greek in terms of student Greek life, sorority, fraternity. I'm actually Greek, like ethnically, Greek. And so I had to explain to them. And then here, a year and maybe a half later, I joined SIGUP, and I am part of that group. And so, anyway, that's probably how we met. But through that experience, I met a lot of the people who ended up in student government. I was the outcast who didn't get elected. But I hung out on the third floor with a lot of you guys, and that was such a great experience for me. And then of course SIGEP came along and poached so many of the student government guys, and that was really cool. So you're right, yeah, we met before SIGEP.
Nice. I'm glad I knew that before you. I was. That is definitely one of the highlights. Is for anybody running for office on campus. Yeah, if you can break plates, that gets a crowd. That gets people excited. I
Yeah,
love that about
I
that
think we
campaign.
bought out. I think we bought out every
Gosh.
piece of plate and dish at the DI there in
Oh,
Logan for quite some time to be able to do that. Yeah,
just to break it. Just to break
yeah, just to
it.
just to make a
Oh,
mess.
fantastic. Okay, so you joined for SIGEP. You met with Nationals. You were one of those original, I want to say, 16 guys. You, correct me history-wise, were the first president. Is that true? Or was that
No, actually, I
Cook?
was the second.
Or
So Woody Witt,
what?
Woody
Okay,
Witt was the first president,
and that
and
was like
then so
November,
he was
December, because the
right,
chapter started
right.
in November.
Right, the chap right, and then so he was like the first president for a semester, and then I was the second president, and then Josh Cook was
And Joshua
after me.
Cook. Okay.
Yeah,
So, and you did that spring semester because you graduated. You joined in November and you were done in that May.
yeah. That May I graduated May 2004.
Okay. So yeah, we short-lived, but man, during those times we had some good times. I'm gonna do
We
something that
did.
I've been introducing and I've been running down memory lane. So I've got a couple images here and I'm gonna have you tell us what's going on
Oh
here.
no.
Ah,
Oh no.
nothing,
I hope
nothing.
they're not incriminating. I have not given my consent to this, and I object to any and all things that may or may not incriminate me, even though statutes of limitations may have run. So let me
See,
just put that out there.
I'll say this. Some of these pictures are hard to find because back then our cell phones didn't actually have good cameras. We didn't have, like, this had to have been from a flip phone or Doc taking an actual photo that had to plug into the computer. So these were not
Yeah,
easy to track down. But,
these were the before times, man. These were the
oh,
before times.
easy, good times. So,
I was actually going to talk about this. I'm
okay,
glad you brought this up. Okay.
okay, so bring it to us because this was the the estate of the chapter, literally those first 2 months, like 2 months, you guys spent a
Yeah.
lot of time at Doc's house and just together. So go ahead, take the reins and just what's going on here? There's not cash involved, right?
Well, again, yeah.
We're in Nevada.
Again,
We're in
I object.
Nevada.
I object to the incriminating nature of this photo. But yeah, it's no surprise I ended up in Las Vegas, right? Here I am at home, doing what I do best, right? Yeah, no, that's obviously us playing some poker. I think that's Doc Davis's house. And I think your cursor, so I see that's Tommy Davis, I think. It would be right in the picture. I think that's Woody, who's sitting right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to say that's Austin, the back of Austin's head. No?
Nope. Brandon Lang.
Is that you?
Nope, that's Brandon Lang.
Oh, okay, yeah, Brandon. Oh, Austin has, that's Cameron
that's
Wolf,
Austin.
and then that's Austin, and then Josh Cook and Tag.
Yep. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Maybe I'll save. Let's keep this picture in mind because, like I said, I've watched your.
You can tell the
series,
story,
and I do have. Yeah, I have a story about
specific
that later.
Well, okay, then we'll set this one aside, and I will share this one. Yes, you're in the glasses with the denim jacket.
Oh, I was like, no, that's somebody else sitting down. Yeah, that was
there.
That was.
Oh, sorry, my cursor's on the other screen. Here we go. There you are, right there.
Yeah, there we go. There's that
Mr. Greek himself.
Devil. Yes. No, that's us tailgating before the football game, I think.
So, for me, one of those big events that always just lingers is we did tailgating. We, as soon as we were Greek, we're like, football season. Even though we had the worst football team for that year, the next my entire college career. Actually, maybe the last 2007, we were getting better, but. Man, we would go for the tailgate and the tailgate alone, and the football game was just like, should we go? I don't know. Let's just stay out here. We would spend hours during the game. Like that first quarter, we were still out the tailgate chatting it up because, again, I enjoyed my time with my brothers more than I enjoyed the time in the stadium because it wasn't fun to watch us
Absolutely.
lose. But yeah,
absolutely.
Memories of seeing, again, from the very first chapter group. There's another for Christian Thompson, also business law.
Oh yeah, Christian, yeah.
So we'll get him on the list in the future.
Great guy. In fact, Christian and we reconnected when I took the Utah bar exam because I think Christian graduated a couple years from law school behind me, and so we took the Utah bar together.
Okay. Yeah, he's his expertise was franchise law. It's been a little bit since I've last talked to him, but so any undergrads, man, we've got lawyers, we got immigration law, business law, franchise law. We got some lawyers in our arsenal. So if you ever have questions, reach out. All right,
sure.
we're gonna throw that one back up. Where did my picture go? There we go. Nope. I'll bring this one up and then stop sharing, and then you can come back and talk about that later. SIGEP to you, man. So you joined SIGEP. Why would you have joined SIGEP?
So that's a great question.
You're a popular kid. You didn't need it. I saw the ladies.
Well, so for some reason I was always kind of drawn to Greek life for the leadership, for the networking, and for all of those things. Not necessarily maybe some of the other extracurricular activities. And so I can't remember who it was that you were interviewing, but it was somebody recently who was talking about that, or it may have been you, and said, I went to the Rush events for Sigma Chi and
Pikes,
for
Sigma Chi.
The Pikes and Sigma Chi. And it just wasn't a right fit for me all the way around. But I was always kind of drawn to it, like I said, for the leadership and the networking opportunities. And so when SIGEP came along and the way it was pitched to us, was basically, hey, here's all of the good things about Greek life, and maybe none of the unsavory things that kind of did rub me the wrong way. And then I started to meet some of the people and getting to know better some of the people who I thought were going to be involved. And I was like, this is it. This is exactly what I've been looking for in Greek life, and all of the upside and little, if not none, of the downside. And so, yeah, I wanted to build something with those first guys that we could be proud of.
So I'm going to take this and spin it because I'm going to use the analogy of business law, right? In some aspects, that's the same thing for me. Like I could either inherit a business, but by inheriting a business and buying it, which I did, and I think I've shared that one with you, I inherited a lot of problems. It had some upswing, there's some good potential, but also there was a lot of baggage with the company and so forth. And I think fraternities are that same way. Like, yeah, we looked at the other ones, but here we had an opportunity to start or recolonize the fraternity. Sure, there was national support. Sure, there was national presence and other chapters. But for Utah State, we could define it. We could create our startup, and we could define our laws or bylaws, and we can lay it out in a way that we felt was up to our caliber. Because I right there with you, I didn't want to join something that was gonna, in some aspect, pull me down. Right? I wanted all that upswing and none of the down. And SIGEP provided that, I think, for us, especially at the beginning, because that, like those meetings you guys had, and I say you guys because you guys are the founding fathers. I don't include myself with that because I pushed pause. I said, I want to see who you recruit. I want to see what you guys did. But it was you guys. It was you 16 guys who spent hours going through bylaws saying, we're going to do it this way because we want to keep that level forever. And you guys just definitely raised the bar as far as fraternities go. And so when I always sat in the shadows from into November, December, and I kind of watched what you guys would do and how you would, which direction you were going. And sure enough, you followed suit with what you guys promised, which is be different, right? Be different and be the best on campus. And so that was something, as soon as I saw the caliber of guys and what you guys were building and creating, I was all in.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that's a really apt analogy with the business. You're right. You know, a lot of times you inherit that thing, warts and all. But this was an opportunity that we had to really start fresh and start anew. So yeah, really the legacy that I feel like, you know, as founding fathers, not to pat my own back or toot my own horn, but I'm super proud, and especially. Like I've said before, I think this series is so cool because I'm seeing not only guys that were founding fathers with me, but also those who came after that I didn't know. And I'm seeing what they're doing in life and how SIGEP shaped them. And like, not to get overly dramatic, but it a little bit brings a tear to my eye because I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted. That's what we wanted. When we started this, we wanted guys to come along after us and have that type of experience and go on to be, you know, these great leaders that they are and successful men that they are. And so it feels really good. It really does. I'm super proud of the work that we did and the work that all the guys did to carry it on, you know, until today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to speed forward because, again, don't want to take too much of your time, but we haven't even talked about the last 15 years of your life. So what you graduated?
Yeah, well,
you graduated
don't worry.
Bachelor wise. What was your degree, bachelor?
Yeah. So, and I was going to say, don't worry about my time, Oz. I'm billing you all for this anyway. So that's just
Fair
how
enough.
my mind works. Yeah,
Fair enough.
bills in the mail. So I graduated. I had a dual major in law and constitutional studies and economics, and then the obligatory, you know, missionary Spanish minor. So I did that too. So law and constitutional studies, economics. Graduated May 2004, and then I went to work at a law firm in Salt Lake for a year before starting law school. Started law school at George Mason University in Arlington, Virginia, just right outside our nation's capital, and just had an amazing 3 years there. Nick Gordon, who was, I think, your first guest. He was a year behind me at George Mason, so that was fun to, to be able to hang out with him, a SIGAP brother in law school. By that time, he had gotten married, met his wife, and we had fun together. The two couples, going to dinners and all that out in Virginia. It was really fun.
I didn't know you guys were. I knew you were both out there. I guess I never coordinated that you were there the exact same time. That's
Same
fantastic.
time. Yep.
Oh,
Same school. Yeah.
shoot. We went out and visited the East Coast and stayed and saw Nick and Annabelle right. And she had her beach ball and her base. She
Oh, yeah.
did from the behind. She was just a like skinny as can be, and she turned her belly just popped out. But Nick.
That's funny.
I didn't know you were out there. Dang. Well,
Yep.
either way,
Yep.
caught up with you since. So you graduated from George Mason, and then did you instantly end up in Vegas after that, or did you?
Yeah. So I started at a large firm based in Denver, but in their Las Vegas office. We call it a summer associate position. I summered with them after my second year of law school and was given the opportunity to come back as a full-time attorney. So I started there kind of in big law, and was there for a couple of years. And then some partners at that firm, they split off, created their own firm. So I went with them and practiced law with them for about, I want to say 5 or 6 years. And then about 6 years ago, I went off on my own and started my own firm, and haven't looked back. It's been a really good experience. And in fact, I think, I dare say I actually enjoy the business of law more than I enjoy actually practicing law. I think that's fair to say. I don't think my clients are going to watch this and be upset about that. But yeah, I enjoy the business of law, the practice of a firm and growing a firm and employing people and all that. I enjoy that a lot.
So have you brought lawyers under you? So how big? In terms how you always hear about partners. Like, do you have partners in your firm, and you're just the leading partner, or is it just
So
lawyers?
I'm the only partner at the firm. It's my firm 100%, but I do have a lawyer who works under me as an associate, and then we have a staff paralegal as well. And so yeah, we're just a small boutique commercial litigation business firm, and yeah, but it's been fun.
Really cool. Tell me, when it comes to law or business law in general, because obviously you and I have had conversations, so this is transparent to all my brothers. Yeah, you know, I've sold the company and had a little bit of issues with past partners, and so Zach's always been my go-to. What aspect of business law, like in some aspects, like what do you love about? Like, do you enjoy when it gets hairy? Because it's not your company, it's not your money in some aspect. And I'm asking it transparently. I don't care, but I am curious. Like, is it yeah? I'll just defend, even if let's just flip the script. Let's say my bad partner hires you, and you're like ethically, like this guy's a douche, but he's paying the bills. Like, I got to support him, even though. So how does that work? And what do you like? Obviously, I know your ethics is clean. Like you're a good dude. But when it comes to lawyers, because I always look at the defense offense for criminals, right? And it's like I could never. How do lawyers defend somebody that you just know is guilty? Business wise, like there's some douchey partners out there or bad business ethics where they're just like, I'm just gonna go in, buy a company, kick out, like just make it their own, right? Do you kind of get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely. And it's funny. I actually had a client ask me this same question a couple days ago. Uh, so I will say, so for the most part, I've been very fortunate that feel like I feel like the vast majority of my clients, I've been 100% behind their cause, right? And I've really felt like they were in the right. But as you pointed out, that's not always the case. And I have had some clients in the past that I felt like maybe didn't have clean hands, so to speak. But here's the interesting thing about at least what I do, and especially in the business context, with partnerships, we deal with. I mean, partnership disputes are really becoming kind of our bread and butter. And what I found is there's it's all gray, right? It's all gray area, because if it is truly
Perspective.
black and white, for the most part, the parties can figure it out, because even the party that's completely in the wrong, they'll know they're in the wrong, or at least they'll have the sense to understand that they don't have any leverage in the negotiations, and that they are in the wrong, and so they may as well concede. And so for the most part, those are the cases that just never end up on my desk, because they're able to work it out themselves. The things that end up on my desk are the hairy matters, the ones where it is gray. It's really hard to tell, because the bylaws or the operating agreement is not clear, and Nevada law says one thing, but the partners think another thing. And that's where it becomes really difficult. So even in those situations where I feel like maybe my client is let's call him the dirtier of the two, right? But there's still enough area where they do have some rights that need to be protected, like your analogy with the criminal defendants. Like, I agree with you. I would have a really hard time representing criminals, but at the same time, I do see instances where there is police overreaching. There's overcharging by the Nick Gordons of. I'm sorry. What I meant is the district attorneys of the world. I'm going to get a call from Nick, and he's going to be upset. But there is, and I think and so there are rights that need to be protected, and that's important. And so, but I will say, for the most part, when I get clients like that, it's a pretty quick in and out. I pride myself on, we just level with them straight and say, hey, listen, you're not in a very good negotiating position because you've done X, Y, and Z. Let's try to get you, what's fair, and let's try to settle it. But the cases that really go forward and really get litigated and go to trial, those are the ones that we really believe in, and think that our clients are in the right. So to your question, that's the fun part for me, is helping people who are being cheated by the system, and need to work through their legal rights, and need some people to help them through that.
Yeah. Well, and that's something, it's been eye-opening. Like, me jumping in a partnership, that was such an eye-opening experience that, unfortunately, I had to do it. Like, I would have never learned what I learned without making those steps. Look, in hindsight, looking back, was it the best decision at the time? No. But again, that gave me such an education. But then there's moments where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what my thoughts are, like what is legal and what isn't legal. And like, yeah, it's huge for me, and it's a huge reason. Honestly, a blessing to have you in a corner where I could be like, can you just clarify? I think it's this, but like, you're right. Like, I might think one thing, but the law, the state law, could say this exactly, or the bylaws, the way they were written. But it has been a complete crash course, and business is a fascinating thing. Unfortunately, it's also like law. You can kind of spin circles. In anybody going to court, you could just spin circles, and law or business is kind of like that, in the sense where pending the bylaws. That's why you got to get a good lawyer to write those bylaws and figure it out, because you can just spin circles and kind of tie up the company and tie up things. It's been a fascinating world, and honestly, you've been a blessing just to have some guidance from on and off. So I've loved it.
Oh, well, thanks, Oz. I appreciate you saying that, and it's always a pleasure to work with you. But to what you're saying is, I think a lot of people don't understand when they go into a business relationship. Like, what's funny is, had you talked to me in 2005, 2006, when I was in law school, and I will say this to this day, the one area of law I never ever wanted to practice was family law. I didn't want to deal with divorces. I didn't want to deal with the mess and the emotion that come with that. The kids, custody issues. I did not want any part of that. So what did I do? I became, a corporate attorney who all I do now is business divorce. And that's what it is. And
That's
And it's so funny because it's like
it
I deal
is.
with all these same emotions, and I
Yeah.
mean, people are having the same emotions. I'm still lucky and count my blessings that children aren't involved. Um, and certainly I wouldn't do family law for that reason, but it really has become very akin to family law, the kind of, these partnership disputes that we do, because when you go into business with someone, you are marrying that person for in a lot of very real respects. You are married to them, and getting out of that relationship is by design. It's difficult and it's hairy, and there's a lot of issues to work out and a lot of emotion. I used to think that commercial law was just going to be, oh, it's just about money, and so I can go home and sleep at night, and it is for the most part about money, but there are so many emotions that are wrapped up in it. So that's certainly one thing that I've come to realize over the years, is how important it is to go into a business relationship with your partners with as much information as you can have to understand, hey, this is a marriage, and we need to work together like you do in any marriage. Marriages need to be worked on and worked at, and you need to do those things with your business partners as well.
Absolutely. So, any undergrads or even just brothers, alumni in general, startups, we have a few entrepreneurs. We've had, and of those entrepreneurs, I do know those that have dealt with serious business law issues, partner breakups, and so forth. That is, I've recently talked to one undergrad, and who has now become a, an owner in a small company, and he's growing it and just working his tail off. And I asked him, like, okay, so you're like, they're not a part of it right now. You're doing everything 100%. And they're like, yeah. I think they're getting like under like 8% of the business. And I'm like, but you're doing everything. They're not even a part of it. And you're literally doing everything. And they're like, well, and so I just said, based on what I've learned from you, is just like, you got to protect yourself. And you're absolutely right. This is the dating period, right? Before you sign, the ink dries. And that was, I think he said, nothing's in writing right now either. Which I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, well, I
Yeah.
guess there's some opportunity to get stuff in writing, but like, you do. It's the dating phase in business, and you, unfortunately, just like Cupid, iHarmony, eHarmony, and it's like
Yeah.
you could set up your profile and you're finding that perfect match. That software that finds that perfect match to me is like you. It's you're the lawyer that's going to be like, sorry, they're coming at it from this level and you're coming out from this level. You guys aren't a match, even though you think you're a match. If you want to be a match, we gotta work on some prenups.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
business wise, yeah, because I really saw me and him, because he was just like, we're gonna kill it, and he could, but also when he said he didn't have anything in writing, but it was just like a verbal agreement, I'm like, you gotta get some ducks in a row, because money changes everything. Money will change everything. If you do kill it and make this person a lot of money, maybe they compensate you and say thanks, and that's it. Like if nothing is writing, nothing
Or
is.
yeah, or maybe they don't, right? Maybe they don't compensate you at all, and they say thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that's you know, uh, the more there are so many different skill sets that make business owners successful, right? A lot of times, though, their skill sets don't involve getting things in writing and dotting all the
paperwork.
i's and crossing all the t's, and yeah, the paperwork, because they're visionaries, and they have, maybe they're great marketers, or maybe they're great innovators and great disruptors, and so many different things. But part of that puzzle, and part of what protects your equity and protects the sweat that you put into a business, is the agreements and the bylaws and the operating agreements, and thinking through all of those things that can happen, and then having someone like me that comes in on the back end when things go sideways, and has to clean up the mess.
Clean
So
up.
it's interesting, but I think a lot of business owners, and certainly people who are getting into startups, my area of expertise maybe isn't doing the startup and having that vision, and certainly uh, typing code and being able to come up with a clever app. That's not what I do, but there's a whole different side of that, which is you have to protect yourself and you have to think of all of these eventualities that may or may not come to pass in the legal sense. And so, yeah, there's a lot to think about.
And you don't think about it until it's sometimes too late, or you've already gotten in the motion. So yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
toot Zack's horn, just say like, get a lawyer, like befriend a lawyer, and just set it up from the beginning, because yeah, a lot can come back and bite you if you're not careful.
for
I
sure.
want to ask you a little bit more about your past. If you and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert J. DeVry.
Robert J. DeBryan Associates. Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
one of your starts, right? You started with them, and did you? Is that true? Right?
well.
Mike?
So yeah, so that's where I went before law school.
Oh, that
So
was
I
before.
had the
Okay,
opportunity. Yeah, yeah, I had the
you
opportunity
and Bob.
to either. Yeah, me and Bob. I was Bob's right hand man, and sadly, Mr. DeBry passed away. I want to say it's been a few number of years now. But he was a good mentor for me. Not even in the because I mean this guy had this amazing, thriving personal injury law practice, which was never my interest has never been in personal injury law. But he was a really good mentor when it comes to building a brand and seeing all the things that he did. So yeah, so I worked for Mr. DeBry before law school and kind of got my feet wet a little bit there and then yeah, went to law school and took a different path for my career than personal injury law, but learned a lot.
Okay, so with that, if I'm an undergrad and I want to go into law, obviously there's all sorts of facets. We've talked about immigration, we've talked about business, there's criminal law, and there's a myriad of other specifics, patent law. Um, what what path with your path, if I am interested in more business law, what is a path that you would say that you've obviously gone through the steps? Would you recommend, would you do different, if you can kind of change time a little bit, or educate me as an undergrad to go into that path? What's some words of wisdom to kind of steer me, good and the bad, to not go?
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I think that I probably wouldn't do the path. A lot of people do like the path that I took: law and constitutional studies, political science, all of that, which are all great. But there is a joke that I think when you study political science or you study the law and the Constitution, you get this you get this feeling like, hey, I want to be this constitutional lawyer. And the joke is that everybody wants to be a constitutional lawyer. And then we find out later on that all the constitutional lawyers in the United States graduated from Harvard in the 1970s. So it's a very small niche, and it's a small target to hit. And for the most part, you won't do that. And so if you have an interest in IP law, take your engineering degree or your biochemistry degree or whatever it is and pursue that course. Take your finance classes if you want to, accounting and finance if you want to be a business attorney, things like that. Do kind of get those core competencies in undergrad, because when you go to law school, for the first year, you literally take all of the same classes as all your other classmates. Maybe third semester is sort of the same. You start to kind of branch out from there, but you don't get a lot of in-depth knowledge in your subject area prior to going out into the real world and getting a job. So I would suggest that you find something that you really enjoy doing that's not political science or something like that. English is a great undergrad though. It teaches you how to read a lot, to write a lot, to be persuasive. That's very helpful. But aside from my typical advice for wannabe attorneys, which is don't do it, um, that would be my advice for the undergrad.
Why now? Why don't do it? No, because there is that, like, I could. There is, like, I would say some people don't own a business. There's too, like, the stress of owning, and you're solely responsible for your family, and so you own your own practice. If for some reason somebody sues you or whatever, takes your license, you're now in trouble, right? How do you provide for your family? So those are entrepreneur. Oh, sorry, those are entrepreneur type independent thing. Why do you say don't be a lawyer? Is it not a say like? Would you say it's just too much stress? Is it?
No, I say that a little tongue in cheek, only because you know how do I put like we were just talking. A lot of it is you avoid lawyers by using a lot of common sense, by being reasonable, by protecting yourselves from the outset, and that's important. A lot of I think the stress that I experience in my life is the constant bickering. We're always fighting with the opposing parties and their counsel and everything about these partnership agreements and all of that sort of thing. So no, it's a very it's a very good career. I think in a lot of different respects. But you are, I mean, for the most part, unless you can kind of, I feel very fortunate to be, to own my own firm and to have gone this way, where I don't trade my hours for dollars necessarily all the time, because I do have people that work for me, and that's been good. But that's been, a road that's taken a while to get to. But so for the most part, as a young associate, whether you're at a big law firm or a small law firm, you are trading your hours for dollars, and the time you're not working, you're probably not making money. And so but I do say that tongue in cheek, because I am very proud of some of the things that we're able to do and people we're able to help. Um, but a lot of times it feels like adult bickering, a lot of the time, and sometimes I just want to
Just
wring everybody's neck and say, just be reasonable. Come on, let's
it's a lot
let's
like
work through this. So
politics, a lot like
yeah,
politics and marriage and
yeah, maybe, yeah, that's true.
Zach, going back because you said you had a story about this picture, so I'm going to bring back because you never said any more in depth about your poker game.
Well, so one of the questions
Or are
that
you
you've
waiting?
asked,
Are you
I'm
waiting for me
waiting
to
for the
ask?
question. Yeah, I was
Oh,
waiting for the question,
is it is
but
it
that's okay.
is it
Well,
the?
well,
Let's say this: if I can, where 5 to 10 years is that the question, or is it the you had all the money you want?
so no, actually neither of those. It was
Oh,
more, well, it was kind of the question, like what experiences did you have at SIGEP that really stood out to you?
okay.
And and certainly, all of the fun times that we had were so great. And in fact, I watched Ted Cariopolis's his interview, your interview and discussion with him, and he mentioned the seeing the
Star
you've lost
Search.
that loving feeling. I think I was on Star Search, and I had totally forgotten about that. I think I was in that skit, and I'm
Sh-
pretty
sh-
sure, at least, because I
should we
had the
look?
Navy shirt. I used to have
Do
that
you
Navy
want me to
shirt.
confirm this? I can confirm it right now. I put it on YouTube.
Oh wow, yeah. Let's see if I'm there.
Oh,
But I
okay, okay.
remember that vividly, and that was so fun.
You keep talking. Yes, and in general, like the Star Search was right, but also poker played big role. And you left, obviously, you graduated. We continued to play poker, and we did it was the best the charity. And I don't know if you heard this, but we did a charity poker tournament. We raised $2,100 in 4 hours. Because we had it in the TSC, we had all the tables. We were all addicted to playing poker, and yeah, we ended up raising all this money, and that was on a Friday night. And then for all you LDS members, the Saturday was General Conference, and that Saturday, the leader, the Prophet Gordon B. Hinckley, came out and said, "We're going to stay away from poker as members of the church." And we're like, "Well, there
So,
goes that annual charity poker tournament."
oh my gosh, Oz. All of these, I'm sorry, I'm like taking up so much time with
No, 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 no.
stories.
You're good. You're good.
But
Hey, I'll.
but this is not the story I was going to share. But since you've gone there, So man, we played poker like Duke DeStefano's house was like the poker
That's
center
right.
of the universe. We played. Remember that
With the
down there?
rounders, we would have rounders on
Yes,
in the background. We
rounders.
had
Oh my gosh,
Twizzlers, and we would play for hours. I totally forgot about
for
Duke's house.
hours.
Oh
Duke's house
yeah.
was like it was so fun. So I went to that it was the priesthood session where
Okay.
President Hinckley made that announcement, and I'm sitting there, and I was like hunched over, just kind of I was listening, but I was like hunched over, and he starts talking about poker, and I kind of sit up, and I look, and I was sitting next to my dad, and my dad folds his arms and he leans back and he just starts like chuckling softly. And he knows he's like, this is directed at my son. I know exactly what President Hinckley's talking about. And it's sitting right next to me. I was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that kind of quelled that. But I wasn't going to share that story. But yeah, thanks for
Everyone,
bringing that up. When we all
everyone.
felt like chastised by the prophet, like yeah, that was a good time.
Oh yeah. But there,
No, so what I was going to say is the question that you've been asking is, one of these experiences that you had that stood out to you, SIGAP, and certainly the fun and the poker and all that. But going back to I think that picture was taken at this very instant. So we were playing poker at Doc Davis's house, and we're all around that table. And I swear that picture, if you could send that to me, that'd be great.
yeah,
Um,
you
I
got it.
think that was the moment. And one of the people, and I'm not going to name names, but one of the people experienced a bad beat at the table and threw down his cards and screams. He throws down his cards and goes, Jesus Christ. And we're at Doc Davis's house, and we're like, I mean,
We-
okay. And I remember thinking, like, feeling a little bit uncomfortable at that outburst and wondering what was going to happen. And I remember Doc Davis came over, and all he said was, and I'm going to butcher exactly what he said, but it was something like he's like, oh, he's like, my grandkids are here. And they heard somebody yell the Savior's name, and they're like, where, Grandpa? Where? Is he here? And that's all Doc Davis said. And I remember in that moment, looking at Doc Davis, who I already had a ton of respect for. But I remember looking at him and being like, that is the kind of guy that I want to be. Because he didn't come over and say, hey guys, let's not use the Lord's name in vain. Or, hey guys, can you please not use that language in my house? Like, nothing like that. He told this funny story that totally got the point across to these
Without.
young men who were in his house. And I remember thinking, I just want to be like this guy. I want to have the sense that I can be true to myself and uphold my values, while at the same time not tearing down other people, not making other people feel bad. And he did that so perfectly. And I thought in that moment, I was like, this is the kind of organization I want to be a part of. People like Doc Davis and people around this table, these are the kind of people that I want to surround myself with. And from that moment on, I was like, I had made the right decision. I knew SIGAP was the one for me. And this series that you're doing, I think is a real testament to that. That I made the right choice as a SIGAP to join, and to be surrounded by these type of people who have gone on to do all of these amazing things that we're hearing about. And yeah, so that was one that just stood out to me as just a real moment in my life where I was like, this is good. I want to be like these guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, that's, again, I wasn't part of those first 2 months, and well, yeah, and it pains me because I heard some amazing stories, and the hours, I know you guys put in tons of hours at Doc's house. But in lieu of one other thing here, let's go ahead and just we're gonna do it. We'll speed through this, but here you go. You're gonna tell me if you could hear this. Oh, can you hear it? Let's see if I
I
can.
can't hear it.
I don't know if I could. How can I
But
share?
I'm not one of those. I think
All
I'm in
right,
the chorus.
I'm gonna
Whenever the
speed.
chorus comes out.
Here, we'll go back.
That might be me on the end there.
There's Cam. I know this is unfortunately the worst copy, but this is what I got. Yeah, I think that is on the far right.
Yeah. Just look for the
Um,
short one. I think I'm right
this,
there next to Christian.
let's
Do you see
see.
that? Like between
Oh, here we
Christian
go.
and whoever's
Here we
on the
go.
end there. Oh, there we go.
There's Josh, Mike Montgomery, Devin.
Right there.
Oh, whoever's holding the camera definitely lean towards that
Yeah.
left side.
I was there because I still had that navy
That
shirt.
navy shirt.
Yeah.
Ah, um, yeah.
That's
So
okay. No.
you're, we're gonna get. I've got some pictures I can share. That good thing because you can't really tell it's you, so you can't get in trouble for it.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. That was good times.
Zachary, thank you so much. I want to ask a few last questions because I am curious what the
Yeah.
next step is. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Are you going to go political and be a judge? Is that of what do you
No,
plan?
no.
Where does your future take you in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think 5 to 10 years from now, so one thing that I'm really excited about is my associate at my firm, who works for me as a lawyer, he and I have actually become business partners on another venture that it's law related, and but it kind of serves a purpose. We're trying to provide professional services to certain groups of individuals. Kind of what we were talking about, help them through the processes of not only setting up their business but running it in such a way that they're as free as possible from legal errors and other issues like that. And so my hope is to be able to pivot to that and to grow that into its own company, and to do that. So I think that if all goes according to my plans, hopefully I'll be spending more time kind of on that business venture than I am in the firm, and we'll see what happens with the firm. It's right now my life is kind of a balancing act between practicing law and on the daily, and at the same time trying to grow this other business and get it started. So 5 to 10 years, yeah, that's what I would hope, is that I'm doing that instead of maybe practicing law full time. Even though, like I said, it would be providing
Still,
legal services in some regard, but kind of a little bit of a, maybe not a complete 180 pivot, but a pivot in a little bit of a sense that way. And so, yeah, that's what I see myself doing. Whether we're here in Las Vegas or not, I don't know. I think that
where your wife?
I'm
Where's she from?
antsy. So so her dad was an Air Force officer, so she's been all
She's
over.
bounced around. Okay.
Um, and yeah, but her parents did settle in the Salt Lake City area, so we think about going up there sometimes. But who knows? Who knows? But the problem, and I say this, the problem is that our kids are in really good situations here, and they have their friends and all that. So it's like, do we want to uproot all that? And so who knows where we'll be physically, but regardless, I think that professionally, that's where I hope to
Might
turn
go
my
that
attention
direction.
to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very neat. Very neat. What if I was to wave a magic wand and give you all the money in the world? What would you do with your time? Would you continue practicing law, or would you maybe go into this venture sooner than that because this is a passion project that you want to go into? Or do you have a hobby that you know what, take up woodworking? I don't know. What would you do with your time,
Yeah,
Zach?
so I thought about that a lot, and really, it's funny. As a lawyer, all of my answers start with, "Well, it depends, Oz," and that's true. So if you were to really proverbially, wave the magic wand, and I were to have and not worry about money, I think I would pursue this venture outside of just the strict practice of law like I'm doing now, and I would pursue that more. And I would, yeah, I've got my hobbies that I love to do, and I love to get my children involved. I recently, a couple years ago, I started fly fishing, and I got to tell you, man, that has been like on my mind all the time. I love fly fishing. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to really do it here in Southern Nevada. But I would do that more, take my kids more. Um, but yeah, I would pursue my hobbies with my wife and kids and spend more time with them, travel. Um, yeah, I got my kids all ski now and I snowboard, and that's one of my favorite things is taking them in, the four of us, because my wife doesn't ski, she doesn't want to, and then my little guy's too young, so it's me and my three oldest, and we'll go out and hit the slopes all day, and it's a blast. Except they always get after me because I have to strap in on my board, and they're like ready to go, and they're like, "Dad, come on, Dad, like, come on." So they're a little bit impatient with the snowboarder amongst them, but yeah, I would spend time with my kids and my wife and travel and have fun. And
Nice.
like I said, if I didn't get rich off of the project that we're pursuing, then I would pursue that as well for sure.
Okay. Yeah, good for you to stay young in the sense I can't ski. Honestly, I don't think my body would survive a ski trip right now. It's brutal. Good for you.
It is brutal. It is brutal. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not the guy that's up there, hucking 360s off of any jumps, but I just love to go and just, carve down the mountain, and my kids, it's actually it's fun. I carve, and then like I'll go up like into the trees, and it's so fun because then I'll go stop and I'll watch, and my 14-year-old, he'll follow my tracks. And then my 12-year-old daughter, she'll not quite go in as far. She'll kind of a little bit. And then my 9-year-old, he'll just kind of like cut down
Stay
the
right
middle. And so it's just fun to see like their levels and how, they're taking risks and stuff. And I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do. And then we'll just, we all end up just back at the cabin, sipping hot cocoa with one another. And it's just a lot of fun. So building memories like that, man, is what it's all about.
That's awesome. Zach, two final things. One, if you could share anything that you would like to share with the undergrads right now, I'll turn it over to give them any words of advice from a lawyer or not lawyer. It could just be a distinguished gentleman of the community, but it could be law fact. I don't know. But if you want to share something to the undergrads, and then finally close us off with what you'd like the brothers that you haven't seen in 10 years, 15 years, what would you like to say to them?
Okay, yeah. So to undergrads, I think to the undergrads, I would say that now is the time to find balance in your life. And, the Balanced Man program that we were, do they still do that, Oz?
Yeah.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
good.
structured slightly different, but it's the same base.
Good, good. My advice to undergrads would be that I don't care where you are in your life. I don't care if you're single and completely unattached. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you're married and have one kid. I don't care if you're married and have two kids and a part-time job. I don't care where you are. I promise you that right now you are freer than you ever will be in the future. Life is only going to get more complicated from this very moment on. And so now is the time, if you haven't, sorry about that. If you haven't already started working on becoming a balanced person and finding balance in your life, start today, because like I said, your life is only going to get more complicated. And as it gets more complicated, it's obviously more difficult to find balance. And so start working on that now. I personally, I hate the idea of work-life balance, because I think that when you say the phrase, work-life balance, that to me, in my mind, that puts work as something other than life. And I'm sorry, I don't know any working person whose work is not part and parcel of their life. And so I don't think there is such a thing as a work-life balance. I don't leave my office tonight and go home and all of a sudden I'm not an attorney anymore and I'm just dad and husband and doing all these things. Like, that's not how it is. Similarly, when I'm here in the office at work, I'm not all of a sudden not a father and not a husband and not a church member and not a member of this of the community and all of these things. Like, we're always all of these things at the same time. And yeah, I would say, don't think of it as work-life balance. Just think of it as your life, which your work is a part of, and start working on finding that balance now. And the balance that you find for yourself is going to be different from everybody. But work on it now, because it only gets more complicated. And so if you can develop those skills now, as your life gets more complicated, you can shift and you can adapt to that, and you'll just be a much happier person. I think that's, for me, finding balance. And I wish I could say that I'm completely Zen and completely, yin and yang, and have found that. And, it's definitely a daily work in progress. But as you work to be balanced, you'll be so much happier. So that would be my advice to the undergrads now. And be grateful that you're part of an organization that places an emphasis on that, and use that to your full advantage. So that's my advice to the undergrad. To my brothers, who I have done a horrific job of keeping in touch with. First and foremost, I'm sorry. Well, first and foremost, I love you guys still to this day. I remember our times together fondly. And second of all, I apologize for not keeping in touch better. But for those of you who want to reach out, my email's on our website, takoslaw.com. Shoot me an email, find me on LinkedIn, let's connect. If you're ever in Vegas and want just the wildest time of your life, don't call me. But I know some people that I can direct you to. No. If you're ever down here in Vegas, Vegas is I know a lot of people travel here. Whether it's a game at Allegiant Stadium or whatnot, love to see you guys. I'd love to connect. And yeah, I love you guys, and thanks for not only starting this amazing chapter, Utah Alpha, but thanks for continuing on the tradition and making it the great organization that it is.
Awesome. Zach, thank you so much for your time. This has been a joy. I've had the privilege of being able to connect with you on and off, and I think once a year I make a call. I hate to say sometimes it's business. Most of the time it's business related, but it always ends up being this like good conversation of, man, happier times. Like you told the undergrads, man, it's just life was so much simpler when you could just like spend time, hours playing poker, sitting at a tailgate, and just getting to know your brothers.
Yeah.
And you truly have become more than a brother in the sense, and I cherish every moment. So thank you so much. I'll end this and, tell your family hi, and hopefully we can get together in person sometime. And if you're up in this, I know we're going to try to do like once in a while, do some events at Nate has a place. Anyways, we're trying to try to get the alumni back together once in a while for those that can make it. Just so at least they know that's always there. Because
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. And thanks for having me, Oz. I appreciate the invite. It's always good to see you. Always good to talk to you. And like I said before, love all you guys.
All right, let me end this call real quick.